and charged with simple assault, domestic violence. But video posted online shows Rice lifting Palmer out of the elevator by her arms and laying her on the ground. Rice is due in court on Tuesday. Certainly very disturbing. A lot of people are paying close attention to this story. It's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Bad situation, bad situation. All right, we have exclusives today.
Yes,
we're going to have one right now. This one, one-on-one with Senator Ted Cruz. Very important individual in the Senate. And now slamming his own party this morning, the Texas Tea Party darling, angering fellow Republicans by blocking a vote to raise the debt ceiling last week. Top GOP leaders crossed the aisle to break Cruz's filibuster and possibly put themselves in jeopardy this fall. With the answer to why, CNN's Dana Bash is in Houston. She's the one who went toe-to-toe with the senator, and he says he has no regrets, Dana, although he may regret going toe-to-toe with you.
I don't know. We'll see about that, Chris, but it's absolutely true. He has no regrets. Look, the Republican leadership plan last week was to allow the debt ceiling to be increased without any Republican votes because it's so unpopular among conservatives. Well, Ted Cruz put a stop to that by filibustering because he said it is trickery, and he's still saying that today. I did not think it was possible to hear your colleagues, your Republican colleagues, angrier at you than they were after the government shutdown. But I actually think you've topped it, that they are really, really upset with you, that you tried to stop the debt ceiling with a filibuster and forced your colleagues to take really, really tough votes that you knew would be tough for them.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think last week actually is a perfect illustration of everything that's wrong with Washington. Republican leadership said is, we want this to pass. But if every senator affirmatively consents to doing it on 51 votes, then we can all cast a vote no, and we can go home to our constituents and say we opposed it. And listen, that sort of show vote, that sort of trickery to the constituents is why Congress has a 13% approval rating.
Now, you're talking about Republican leadership. One of the people you're talking about is your senior senator in your own party from the state who happens to be the #2 Republican in the Senate, John Cornyn, who voted to try to stop your filibuster. Is he trying to fool Texas voters?
Listen, I like John Cornyn. He's a friend of mine. He and I have agreed on the vast majority of issues. I disagreed with him on this. Part
of the eyebrow-raising criticism of this particular filibuster is that it wasn't the kind of filibuster that you did over the shutdown. You weren't out there for 21 hours saying green eggs and ham, reciting that. In fact, you didn't give a speech at all. I was watching you. You were sort of in the corner on the floor at your seat and just watching the chaos quietly. So it wasn't even sort of a real filibuster. If you wanted to really block it, why didn't you talk about it? What I said at the outset was I am not going to affirmatively consent to giving Harry Reid the authority to do this because it's irresponsible. It is selling our nation's future down the road. And you know, you go back to those Senate lunches. I won't identify anything, but I'll tell you several people raised a question just like you did there. Why are you trying to throw 5 Republicans under the bus and make them vote for raising the debt ceiling? And I'll tell you my response. My response is I don't want to throw any Republicans under the bus. I would like to see all 45 Republicans stand together and actually do what we tell our constituents. The Wall Street Journal called you the minority maker. And the idea there is that, and this is really what this is what's all about, is that you forced Republicans to take votes that could hurt them in their races and could put the Republican Party in the minority again. Do you not want to be in the majority? What's more important to you, being in the majority or party purity? Dana, I want to win and turn this country around, and the way we lose is not standing for anything. On a human level, I know that you're in Washington fighting for the grassroots, but you are a human being, and you are sitting with people around you who I would think that you have some respect for. They're fellow senators in your own party. For them to be so mad at you, what's that like? Oh, listen, you know, what I try to keep an eye on is that I don't work for the party bosses in Washington. I work for 26 million Texans. But as a human being, you are a human being. Look, does it sting? As a human being, I can't control what they say, how they behave. I can control what I do. So every interaction that I have with every senator, Republican or Democrat, is consistently civil, courteous, respectful, treating them with the dignity they deserve.
Dana, that's a great interview. I was so riveted, I was waiting for you to tag it. Let me ask you a question, though. Does the senator acknowledge the contempt that he tells people about for the entire process of Washington? Does he acknowledge that his strategy to date has been to obstruct? Does he own that?
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't use the word obstruct. He uses the terms like standing up for the people here in Texas, of course. But that is what he's doing, whatever term you want to use. As you just heard, he doubles down on it, even more than that. You know, what's really fascinating, Chris, is that I've been covering Congress for a while, and I see the place and how it works as a club. And to watch somebody who has only been in the Senate for a little more than a year to push back against that club-like mentality in such a vigorous way, which is why I sort of asked that human level question, because he is sitting with these colleagues, you know, all day long who are so mad at him. It's, you know, one thing for Democrats to be mad, for his fellow Republicans, it's another thing. But this is the third time I've been here in Texas in this year to interview him. And I see here on the ground why he is able to be like that, because he is applauded everywhere he goes for doing what he is doing by the conservative grassroots and even beyond that here in Texas, the people who elected him. And let's just be honest about what he's doing with regard to his long-term game. He doesn't deny that he wants to be president, doesn't deny that ultimately he probably will make that run, and he is banking on the fact that there is a constituency out there, the conservatives who, and maybe others, who are so mad at Washington that they are going to continue to applaud him for standing up against Washington and being virtually the only one to do that at times like this.
Dan, a great interview, very insightful, because Ted Cruz, he is the face of half of the problem. Half of the problem is you want to go in there and obstruct. People love that because you're exposing the game, the club, as you call it. But then there's the other half. What are you going to do to make it better? Higher ambitions won't happen until that piece is fulfilled as well. Thank you very much for the interview. Great to have it.
And Dan makes a really important point, and she points it out, and it matters because with her expertise in the years she spent covering the Senate, you don't often see someone who so quickly comes in and makes waves in this institution and has so much support, who also isn't committing political suicide, who has so much support back home. That's not just because he says wild things and he reads Green Eggs and Ham on the Senate floor that we cover him. It's because he's making waves. That's
He's
for sure.
harnessing the outrage of the people. The task as a leader is, now how do you take that and then create progress? That's the part we need to see.
That's the second part of it that we haven't seen yet. Coming up next on New Day, a huge deal in the tech world, folks.